I have had absolutely multiple instances of getting payouts from accounts and then blowing them. And that is success holds dangers until you really get consistent with it and you continually decide to stick with what you have known has gotten you to your consistent payout period. And so you don't really ever want to achieve in like an I've made it type of situation. Anything like that in your psyche has to be treated very carefully because you can easily lose it. Like you can lose everything to the market.
Just a quick pause before we get into this. Trading can be intense and staying mindful during your session matters so much. That's why I created and am sharing a free 3-part audio experience that's helped me deeply. 1 for starting your day with calm intention, 1 to stay centered while you trade, and 1 to wind down with grace when it's time to stop. These tracks are yours. Just click the link in the description.
Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today.
Hey guys. So I've been thinking a lot lately about how I have grown and changed over the last 4 years that I've been a trader, and I kind of want to talk about it. So I want to talk about the evolution of a trader from like a baby, starry eyes, everything is exciting in this world is definitely going to be the answer to all of my wildest dreams and concerns and hopes and aspirations, and then into what it actually feels like and how you can progress through that to the actual evolution of starting to get some successful, consistent outcomes that are really settling in and changing everything. And so when you start trading in the beginning, it's kind of wild. Like there's these giant swings. So you start learning and it's so exciting. Everything's going to be amazing. Sure, it's going to be hard. Everyone says it's going to be hard. So yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be hard, but you're also just enthralled with all the big, beautiful wins that you see people having and the skills and the P&L. And so it's exciting. And then you start trading in sim, hopefully. And then you have, early wins and those create big highs and then early losses, hopefully also early in sim in the beginning. But then there's the lows that those cause of like, I guess it is really hard. I guess I'm not like Superwoman. This might actually be harder than I thought. And then when you put real money on the line, those lows are actually really deep lows. And so those emotions are heightened, I think, more in the beginning because you weren't anticipating them as fully as I think they actually hit. So big, big emotions come into play. And then the fear and greed is also at a peak because, the first big loss is scary. You want to not admit it, to not have it happen. You don't understand fully why it happened generally. You're scared that it's going to happen more. You don't want to tell your family or your person that you lost that kind of money. You don't even want to tell your mentor sometimes. And then on the greed, you have a really big win. It's like, I'm going to do this all the time. Like I can do this every day. The market just prints money. Like I'm going to print money from my trading platform. And so those are so massive and so all encompassing on the days that they happen early in the career that it's a big dopamine flood to your brain that really kind of can get you hooked on the process and those big experiences. Every method you learn, you see different traders, you are on YouTube or whatever platform, and you're like trying to see what is being done and how people are succeeding, and everything just looks shiny and powerful and amazing, and you just want more of it. You want to be involved in everything. You want to soak up other people's wisdom so that you can experience it and execute on it. So that's exciting. The bigger things that I saw, I think, when I was a younger trader in the first couple months was like the potential and the success. It seemed like everyone that I wanted to be like was just winning and printing money and doing this big, awesome thing that surely I was going to do in no time. And it didn't seem like it was as scary as it could have been. And then when I started trading, I thought their wins were big and my losses were big. And so I think I amplified other traders' success and I downplayed my early wins after some time and I upplayed my losses. Statistically, in scientific studies, we feel our losses multiple times more significantly than we feel our successes. And so those pains are deep and they feel big. And so then it can be a little bit of a depression point, honestly, early, where it's like, maybe I am just really bad and everyone else is doing so much better than me. And, that phase is super hard to like figure out, is this real? Is this just me? What's going on? And I think most traders go into a period early on where they pull back from reality, like everything that used to be normal, your previous career, your family, your hobbies, your activities. I know I did that. I pulled back from, friends that I routinely engaged with, and like even my garden suffered, like things that I would do all the time and prioritize weren't getting as much attention because I prioritized studying and hunting for that breakthrough as a trader, that, the secret sauce, the secret recipe to really everything clicking. And then, I wanted the back testing. I wanted the focus. I wanted to drive to get to more of the successful days and not the hard days. But then that got really lonely. And so, that period is kind of dark, honestly, where your losses feel heavy. You're putting in more time at the charts to try and figure out how to not have the losses, which means you're pulling back from the people that used to be your comfort, your safe space, your hobby, your entertainment, your happy time, where you didn't carry the weight of something as heavy as trying to push really hard for trading success in your real life. And so relationships that once were big are fading, changing, shifting. Your world starts to shift when those interpersonal relationships are changing. And so I know for me, I lost my balance for a little while. Previous activities that I would spend so much time on were taking a back seat to pushing forward with this, because I was so sucked in, so drawn, so connected to the emotional highs and losses and the growth that is required in order to persevere. And so other activities were really taking the back seat. And so that's where I think we cannot be paying attention to this when it's happening, but that's the time where you have to figure out if you are getting addicted to trading and the highs of it and the lows were really hard. And so you were just chasing the next high. I think there's a real potential for trading to be a strong addiction for someone. That can be the drug, is the P&L swings and the experience of it and the world that you fall deep into that can really take over. And I think that there's a thin line. I mean, we can wrap it up with a pretty bow and call it passion and dedication and devotion and drive at something that's really powerful. But it can feel like you are constantly craving the next hit, the next experience. You're looking at the market after hours. You're looking at it during the middle of the night. You are messaging people and reaching out and really focused on it. And, what does that look like for you? Are you an addictive personality? Or do you understand that you need to keep a balance there? Are you recognizing the impact that's having in your personal life? I think I don't know any trader who hasn't experienced this moment of like really, really driven and focused and cutting some sacrifices in the rest of their life in order to push at that. I certainly did. And then there's a period around then that I think that most traders will have like a lowest low. When I have guests on the show, I definitely like to ask that, because I think that it's so relatable, because once you learn how to win, you have to learn how to lose. And that is a whole process unto itself. I mean, the book Biggest Loser Wins by Tom Hugard is very powerful because it's so true. Like, you have to be able to take a loss, keep it small, stay level, recognize when you need to walk away. But that is not natural and it's not intuitive in trading. It has to be a skill that you learn, and you have to recognize that you have to learn it. And so that will be a lowest low. And often it's not one giant horrible trade, although it certainly can manifest that way. It can be a season of losses that you just feel like you can't get out of, that, you had these steps forward and then you fell back hard. That can be where you're figuring out, am I addicted? What does this look like for me? How much have I lost? What do I do? How do I get out of this hole? Who are the people that I lean on? And that lowest low is a period that I think that all traders have to go through that. In order to become a consistently profitable trader, you will inevitably experience a period of lowest lows, and then you figure out what to do there. And in that situation, if you don't quit, if you're part of the 10% at the highest that make it in trading, that's when you start to pivot and the real growth starts to take place. I think in the beginning, it's all highs and lows and rushes and time spent and life shifted and relationships lost. But then you decide, there's a point of decision where, is this pain enough and you cry uncle and you throw in the towel, or you say enough of the ways I'm not doing it quite right, and you start to change and grow. And I know that I certainly went through that. And in this situation, you have to start to figure out, to make balance and discipline a real thing. They're not just fluffy words. They're actual changes that you're making in your life. You have to recognize that you still need people around you that love you and hold you up. And you still need to be able to shut off the charts and the P&L and your account status and focus on the humans right in front of you and the projects that you want to do that also bring you joy, some sort of other avenue for beautiful creativity in your life, or successful relationships, or strength and balance. And then I think we can lean into that. You can be disciplined on the charts. It can look like a crossing discipline in all of your life. You're making healthy choices for your body and your family and your time and your sleep hygiene. And then that will, start to play over into healthier decisions with your risk management and trading your process consistently instead of giving in to fear or revenge or chasing. And so then during that time, you decide. Like a point of decision is major in a trader's journey, because that is saying I'm not quitting. So then I am dedicated to changing and becoming the person who actually will be that profitable trader that we read about, decades later, that actually has been a name to remember. And so you want that outcome more than you want the quick hits and the highs and lows and the chaos almost. And so that decision will come with an elevated patience, a faith in yourself, and recognizing that, I can screw this all up in one day and set myself back weeks, months, and significant finances, or I can take small base hits. I can take small losses. I can focus on the setups and the process and fine tuning my entries and exits instead of what monetary goal you want for a day. And then that will shift. It will shift from awful days aren't awful days. They're lesson days. And if each day that ends not ideal can become a smaller P&L hit and more emphasis on what did this day teach me, that is a major part of that phase of growing, of changing from it being a huge depressing loss that you just want to bury and hide and are ashamed of, to I am a trader and this day needed to teach me because clearly I haven't mastered this situation yet. And then, that looks like a shift in your journey and your learning and the information that you're taking in and the way that you're putting it out in terms of how you are trading. And then also on those awful days that could have, previously derailed you, you could overtrade, you could focus on the charts all day, you could get mad, frustrated, cry, engage in substances that are not actually a healthy choice. Instead, I think as you mature as a trader, you start to think about it differently. You cut the losses earlier. You only have 1 to 3 losing trades before you have a hard stop and you don't engage anymore. And then in that situation, maybe you do a strong, hard workout. You get outside, you go for a walk, you do a fun activity, you take your family and do something outside of the home, outside of the office, away from your screen. And you allow that positive choice in a different area of your life to help pull you out of that morning funk of ending red. And then that kind of can stabilize your emotions and your mood. And it leaves you more open. At least for me, it has left me more open to receive the lessons and not sit in the negativity that can just breed more negativity. And so then that kind of helps normalize what you have to experience, and that your life is still full and beautiful. And there's so many things to be grateful for, whatever that looks like for you. I'm a mom with my boys. And so, spending time with them really feeds my heart and soul. But for someone who has a different life, something else can bring them just as much joy and peace and excitement and steady positivity that is not on the charts. And then, as you experience that and you realize that that's a normal part of the journey of what your experience as a growing trader is, you'll notice it in others too, which I started to do, of saying that traders who I thought were more advanced than myself, I would be able to recognize that they also had wins and losses and experienced things and had lessons and spoke to their people and worked through it. And so it doesn't mean that I only have bad losses and they only have good wins. We're both just working through our own shit at different paces and in different phases of our journey based on when we started trading, who we learned from, what type of style we trade, where we're at in our growth and development, which is, so different trader to trader. And so that is, a realization that is really powerful for me, to recognize that I'm not doing this wrong. I'm just doing it in my own time and place and experience. And every trader has that for themselves too. And so kind of coupled with that is the the tremendous value that hindsight will bring. And so for me, I've been a trader for over 4 years now, and I have gained so much hindsight benefit of looking at what my pivot points in my journey have looked like. So when I have had like these big lows and traumatizing times, things that really stressed me out and felt awful, and I felt like maybe I shouldn't do it. I debated like what I'm doing wrong and how to get out of it and what I need to do. And sometimes I would go dark in those moments. Sometimes I would be outspoken about them. But the moral of the story looking back is that they have all taught me. They have all had me focus on an area that I need to improve on and reframe, refocus, learn more, ask questions, seek support and reinforcement from people who are also in this game who understand it, and then lean on my loved ones. And those periods in the moment were painful, but they were also like transformational in terms of what I needed to learn and grow and teach myself coming out of it. And so, you come out of that corner and you're stronger, you're steadier, you can line up and keep going down along your journey because you have made it through, that potential hard pivot point. And so that, really was helpful for me. Hindsight is still helpful for me because I'm still having those experiences as I grow, new level, new devil. I'm still having challenging times in my trading career that is teaching me and helping me evolve. And the most powerful influences and relationships in trading, I have learned over time what those look like and how they serve me and who those people are and how they speak to me and how they encourage me and how other people are just noise and how I need to be particular about what I let in to my whole mental game. Because if I just let every bit of noise in, it's going to be confusing, scary, irritating, like unhelpful. And then I won't be able to prioritize the things that I really need to hear. And so that's what another part of my trading growth is learning who speaks my language on terms of the market and as a human, and then allowing those relationships to have more weight and more time and presence in my thoughts and in my day-to-day, hour-to-hour time. And then the superficial ones are the ones that are just really weren't of benefit to either one of the parties involved. Usually those are just, I've been more at ease with letting them go. I do believe that all we really have is like this right now, this life that we're building, the people around us right now, the people that we currently love, and the things that we're working towards. And who knows what will be down the line, what will come of our souls in eventuality. But what we do have is this moment. And so giving time to the people right in front of us and the experiences that are feeding the right parts of our journey is where I need to focus and what I want to pour into. And then I cut out the rest. I cut out the things that add stress or pain or time wasting, honestly. And so now I no longer would crave like a long session at the charts and getting back in there and having more time and studying it. I want the balance over those long, focused, like blurry-eyed on the computer screen days. I want to do some of everything that brings me joy. And I want to focus on trading. I don't want to ever not experience a day. Like every day that the market is open, I'm at my charts to some degree or another based on my home. But I believe that experience is growing me tremendously. So I keep the pressure on there for sure, because I'm nowhere near the eventual outcomes that I'm seeking as a trader. But I also will have to stop, especially being summertime right now. Like I have to stop in order to love on my boys and take them out in the sunshine and engage and play with them. That's a big part of why I want to be strong and fit and healthy, is so that I can play with them, hike with them, take them awesome places, swim with them. And so that balance really makes it all less stressful and more a part of a beautiful experience of life. And it helps me to like not blame myself anymore. Pulling blame out of the trading journey is a big deal. And if you still experience little periods of like, I'm just not good enough, I'm not sure that I can do this, I totally mess it up, I said I was never ever going to revenge trade again, yet I took like 5 fucking trades in 1 hour and totally messed up myself, I would ask, what does the blame benefit you? I think you can own your responsibility in your actions for sure. Like you click the buttons, you need to acknowledge that and do something with it. But to hold blame and carry like negativity and shame and fear about what you did, I think just puts more negativity on it and feeds that negative emotion. And so for me, cutting blame out of my trader journey has been powerful, both for my outcomes and for my stability as an evolving trader. because I'm not blaming my system. I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming my mentor for not warning me enough about a certain like setup that could not be true. Instead, I want to own everything about it. Ownership, I think, establishes that you have choices and that your outcomes are your own making. And so that I think actually leads to real strength and true confidence, because it basically, you're telling yourself, like, I am the trader that I am based on what I do, what I have learned, how I'm executing, how I'm fine tuning my process, how I'm, breathing, taking steady deep breaths and allowing my certain candle on a certain time frame to close, and then taking in that data before I'll make a decision. So I'm slowing myself down so that I can be more intentional with making sure that I'm taking the absolute best trades that I can see. And then when I do that and I am slower and very intentional, it's easier to own the outcome and recognize that whether or not it resulted in a green P&L, I can be more confident in knowing that I'm holding true to doing what I tell myself I'm going to do. And that will make me a stronger, more patient, more disciplined, and settled trader moving forward. I'm not reaching as much. Instead, I'm knowing that I can trust myself. And that comes from ownership over blame, if that makes sense. And there's a few sayings that I really, really love that I think are all about the experience of a trading journey, evolution. And faith over fear, of course, has to be top of that list, because trading losses can be scary. They can really shake you. They have shaken me and made me wonder if I am good enough and if I can do this, and if all the time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears I poured into this are going to get me where I want to go. But it's so much more peaceful to choose faith. And that comes from all of the people that I have met, all of the things that I have learned, the system that I've developed, the money that I have made, the person who I have become in this journey. I want to have faith in her and who she's becoming, and know that I'm not there yet, but like faith over fear, because I have literal proof at this point, a couple years in, that what I have poured into this experience is coming back to me now. Like, I am taking really good trades and I am getting paid and I am building things up, and I still fall, but I know that those tripping and falling are temporary setbacks in my journey, and that I'm still learning. And so I can't hate them. And that goes to another saying that I really, really love and try to remind myself of every day, which is let it take time. Like, if you want to be a millionaire multiple times over from trading, there's no fucking way that that's going to happen in a year or two or three, because that just isn't realistic. In order to learn to trade, at least coming from like scratch, like coming from nothing, nowhere in the financial industry, it looks a little different, but it's going to take a substantial amount of time for everyone to be able to work through, first of all, learning technicals and a strategy to begin with that is profitable, and then getting really good at that. But then also learning who you are when you hit the charts, and who you need to be, and how to make the shifts that you need to make in your core that allows you to become the consistently profitable trader, not just with your strategy on paper, XYZ, but with who you are when you sit down at your computer to make your executions, and kind of owning that. And so I love the idea of letting it take time, that I can't go from person A to person F in a year, that I have to take a bazillion steps in the middle and then fine tune it as I go. And that has brought me so much peace in allowing my journey to take time and to, play out how it will. And so then it also helps me be patient with progress over perfection, right? To know that each day that I'm learning and growing and shifting is a beautiful progression in who I am and what I am learning as a trader, and that perfection is completely unrealistic. I mean, the market's going to move around. To be able to catch a perfect trade every day is just literal lunacy. So I would encourage anyone who's earlier in their trading career to let that go. To aspiring to that is like going to be painful. It's going to be full of like failure, like more failure. If you are seeking perfect trades all the time, like that's just not it. But to take a little piece of a good move is really actually where the power and the money is at, I would say. So I think, in general, patience is just going to grow when you realize all of this, right? You realize that the experience each day at the charts is growing you. Like with any career. I mean, if you guys have been following me, you know that I'm also a nurse. I've been an acute care nurse for 19 years now. And, my first year, I was kind of a disaster, as all new nurses are, to be clear. Like anyone new in their career, you learn what you learn in college and in practicums, but then when you actually are experiencing treating humans and seeing disease processes in real life and all the variation that can be person to person, different age group, different cultural ethnicities, it presents differently all the time. Just male to female, the exact same disease is completely different. And so that's the same thing with the market. She has repeatable patterns that she'll show us and a rhythm that we can find. And, training days versus rotational days, it doesn't seem like it's that complicated, but there's so many nuances. And I think embracing the fact that it is incredibly nuanced and there's going to be, 500 variations on the same day. And so giving yourself patience to experience them year over year, I would argue, and to have that to be changing you and evolving you and recognizing that this is a long game pursuit. And that's why this episode is about the evolution of a trading journey, because there's no end game, I would argue, in trading. Like, you start to get profits when you can be patient and disciplined, and focus on your process, but also yourself, change who you are and have kind of a higher focus on becoming this person that embodies these behaviors that is in line with actually executing on your system consistently. And so embracing the process and the journey and the variations that come with it. There's a lot of content out there in the trading world from young traders who maybe don't have this isn't their second career. They're not adults going back for trading. And so I think there's a big variation between adults that this is their second or third career being a trader, and then, young adults who maybe went straight for this out of high school, college, know someone in the industry or got exposed to it early and started delving right in, because there's just a different life. If you are older, with or without children, but especially with children, it's just going to look different. Like, the journey just is different because you have to be more balanced. You have to know that you're not doing this for you and to get a Lambo and to spend, a month in Cabo based on trading profits and to be able to, trade different hours and stuff. It's different when you're split, and you have to love on your family and show them the attention that they deserve and the time and energy, maintaining a home and making sure that all of their needs are met and they get to school, clean and fed and loved. It's going to take longer, I would argue, for anyone who has a whole family that they are the head of. When you are the leader for your children, your attention is divided, as it should be. And I think that recognizing in myself that my journey is not really comparable to a 22-year-old male in that aspect in terms of timeline, it gives me more peace too, because I can't, recognizing that I split my day between studying the charts, trading, executing, and journaling, and cooking, cleaning, parenting, picking up, getting them to their pediatrician appointment, making sure that we practice reading every night. That is my beautiful, balanced, full, and crazy life. And for someone who is 22, who, goes out with friends on the weekends, they might have 3 times the amount of time in a day to study the charts. And so our outcomes are going to look different in terms of when they succeed, what types of trading they gravitate to, etc., which is great. Trading can be there for all of us and it can look different for all of us. Like, cheers to that, and we can even learn side by side. We can learn the same techniques and styles and execution practices, and then it will sink in different ways. And motherhood also is a superpower for that parenting, because you are really good at sort of like staying patient. You have to stay patient as a parent so you don't eat your young. You have to be able to let noise come in and quiet it down and then approach it more peacefully coming out, because you are teaching them how to be humans. And so that perspective is beautiful as well. And so, another argument for just letting your journey be your journey and letting it be uniquely yours, however that looks. And know that the market doesn't care. Like, she doesn't care if you're a parent or if you're 20 or if you're 40 or if you have back tested your strategy twice or if you've back tested it 200 times. The market reflects who you are as a trader and where you're at. It reflects who you are as a person in your identity as well. If you're calm and patient and confident and give her time to develop and open to receive with curiosity, and then you execute when you're really confident, versus fear, anxiety, grabbing, feeling unworthy, and hoping you can just sneak away with quick points by over leveraging and not paying attention. There's different ways that you approach the market, and she doesn't care. You get what you get based on how you can be your best self at your time for trading. It's a pressure situation. And so trading is a pressured situation. And under that pressure, it's going to reveal who you are at your core. And so I would argue that as you're evolving as a trader, definitely spend some time shoring yourself up in that department, focusing on what you need to do in order to be calm. Is it deep breathing, meditating, exercise, being in your body, challenging yourself for some hard things such as hard workouts or cold showers that reinforce you being steady and capable of surviving hard times. Whatever you need to do in order to make yourself the most patient and curious trader that you can be, those moments under pressure when you're executing on in a day trading environment, it will serve you the most. And I would say that not many other professions are like this. As a young nurse, like I am on a floor with a team around me, and the more senior nurses recognize that I am a new grad. And so they watch me, they keep their eyes open, their ears open, they can sense red flags, they can see if I'm stressed and anxious, offer assistance. Doctors know when they're working with younger nurses. They also have to be a little bit more diligent and write their notes and orders more, thorough. That way everything is carried out as anticipated. And so, in other professions, you are nurtured and guided, and there are backups, and it's not, many professions are not solo as trading is. And so, you can be limped along and be supported by your peers, but trading is lonely, and we have to support ourselves and love ourselves and recognize that, find people that you can lean on, even in an electronic world, that can help recognize the fact that it is lonely and it's hard, and to talk it out so it doesn't feel quite so isolating. And recognize that once you do start winning, you're not really out of the gate. You're not really that's not the end all in trading, because let's be real. Success is seductive. It's appealing. It's attractive. You want more of it. You want to seek it. You want to do what you did that day that took that sick trade and ended in this beautiful P&L. Like, that is appealing. Like, you want more of that. And losing, I think losing is a safer period of growth, because when you are still struggling and you're losing every other day, you know that you're not there yet. You know that you need to crave education. You need to seek mentors. You need to ask questions of your mentors. You need to recognize that you're being humbled yet again by Miss Market, and be curious and build your trading career. But when you start achieving success, that can be dangerous. I heard that, a trader on a winning streak is much more dangerous than a trader on a losing streak, because it can breed an overconfidence subtly, kind of insidiously. You can start to be like, well, I've been winning for weeks. Like, naturally, payouts are just going to keep flowing, right? It can cause bad behaviors in itself. Success can. You can hold trades too long because you're sure that you're right, because this looked just like the other one, that you killed it. And so you're just going to lengthen your stop loss. You're going to average or hold it a little longer because you're a winning trader now. You can tune out feedback from the market because you already know what you need to know. You can listen to your mentor less because you've got this. You can shortcut your analysis and your rules, and maybe you're really thorough with your pre-market plan for years, and that got you to a very consistent, profitable place. And so now you're just kind of half-ass it with your morning routine and your pre-market hypothesis. Let me tell you right now that is very similarly to where I am at, because I've had many payouts at this point from 3 different prop firms I've been paid out. And there's been a period after each chunk of payouts where I have done this exact shit. That's why I know and I'm able to speak to it, because there's been periods of feeling overconfident, knowing that I'm on a roll and I've got this and I feel really good about my trading. And I do come in and I don't do as thorough of a process in the morning, and I don't do the things that make me the most confident, and I will undervalue how I'm actually feeling, and I will trade in a compromised emotional or physical state. And that abandoning of what got me to success is always so dangerous. I've had absolutely multiple instances of getting payouts from accounts and then blowing them. And that is success holds dangers until you really get consistent with it and you continually decide to stick with what you have known has gotten you to your consistent payout period. And so you don't really ever want to achieve an I've made it type of situation. Anything like that in your psyche has to be treated very carefully, because you can easily lose it. You can lose everything to the market, even being many years into trading if you're not super cautious and focused on the fact that this has always been hard and there is always risk in this game, and we have to respect it very vigilantly. And with every execution, every contract we put on the line is made in this essence of respecting your process and yourself and your journey and what you're doing. And so, you don't want to stay in this journey to win. You want to stay in it. I mean, you do, but you do want to win, right? But you want to stay in this game to grow and evolve and level up as a human, level up myself so that the consistency and the profits follow based on who I am becoming when I choose to push forward as a trader. It's a journey, right? It's a journey without a finish line, because there's never going to be like this giant win that means that I have made it and now I'm just set and the money just flows. That's not trading. That's something else. I don't know. It's not trading. Trading means you just can keep showing up to do your best execution, to be the best trader and person that you can. And then you can continue to self-actualize and develop and have awareness on the entire experience of it, which just allows so much clarity on who you're becoming, why you're becoming the person that gets these outcomes. And then it can become a feedback loop that reminds you of who you are and how it is working. And I think that is where we want to get to, from the early big traumatic highs and lows through the lowest low, and deciding that you have to focus on you and you have to change and become this other person that is consistent and pays close attention to the risk. And then you can start this cycle of, okay, I really know and feel what it looks like to be a great trader. And so I want to feed that. I want to continue to sleep at night and exercise every day and be focused when I'm with my family, focus on them and tune out the charts. And when I'm with the charts, wholly focused there on deep breathing and process and respecting the risk utmost. And then it can really become this slow, steady, beautiful green process of being the trader you always dreamed of being. But it's not without acute attention and patience and time. So that's my experience. 4 years deep as a trader. That's how I have evolved so far and where I'm at in it and how I see it playing out moving forward. I would really love to hear about your journey as a trader, your evolution, the biggest tips for what has been monumental for you. Is it something similar to mine? You want to come on the show and talk about it? Thank you for being here with me at Market Mamas, and leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already, because it actually really matters with the algorithm and whatever, but it keeps me remembering that people are out there and find value and talking about trading with me. So anyways, take care, everyone. Happy trading and happy evolution into the consistently profitable trader that we all are becoming. Bye.